Alright, so we don't need to wait for this to happen. Alright, so I am going to set something up just to have something going on in the background while I talk, because otherwise this will be boring as shit. So let's just pick 2 random people. There we go. Turn it off 1 player. Alright, so let's start that up. We will go here. Oh, son of a bitch. And of course that's loud. Let's turn that way down for me. You can let me know in the chat how if it's too loud. It definitely was for me, so. Alright, now I need to find this stupid thing. You know what? Alright, I botched this already. Go me. I need to go back to the menu and bring up the stupid mod pack menu form, because it did not load. There we go. Now I need match pacing and booking, find, normal match, same people, settings, this is not set for, we will do a 60-minute time limit, return, finish, there we go. Alright, now we're good. Okay, so let's get the sort of ground rules out of the way here. I'm not here to troubleshoot your mod problems. You know, we have a Discord for that. You can ask on the Steam forums, wherever. That isn't really the purpose of this, so keep questions regarding that to the, you know, to the proper channels. Don't spam them here. Because I don't actually care to help you on a stream with a bunch of other people watching, because that would be boring for everybody. Who did you get for the announcements? I cannot remember his name to save my life. He's done 2 sets of announcements for me too. He did have a thread on the Critical Club and on the Steam forums for a while. Basically offering his services to whoever, so if you can find that, you could probably ask him. It's been probably 6 months or so, so I just cannot remember to save my life what his username is. So other than that, pretty much any questions are fine, other than the troubleshooting ones. You know, I'm good with talking general wrestling, Fire Pro engine stuff, Fire Pro modding stuff. You know, sometimes people get cheeky and they want to ask me about comic books or whatever other garbage they think that I might like. But I'm not as nerdy as you people, so I don't like that stuff. But, yep, just feel free. I'll read the questions as they come up in the chat and then give my answers, so there we go. I'm going to announce it to everybody over on the Discord. Oh, I hate Discord sometimes. It won't, if you don't include the HTTP, it will not turn it into a link. Okay, there we go. So, All right, View asks, do you have any major mods planned once Spike finishes development? I don't. I kind of do this stuff off the cuff, I guess. So it's whatever I think of when I think of it, I try to do it. I don't really make major plans. The one thing that I was thinking about doing once Spike basically calls it quits is so I can go in and actually add fields to the objects and classes that Spike created, which will do things like allow me to cut back on some of the static references I use in the mod pack, which means nothing to you, but it may improve some performance stuff and make things a little easier and I don't know, I guess tidy for me as a modder and for people who may use the mod pack as a framework, because y'all can do that if you didn't know. It's almost everything is public because almost everything needs to be public in order to work in the way that the mods are set up for Fire Pro in general. So pretty much you can use the mod pack as a framework to change things yourself. So the next question, can we get Last Man Standing again? I actually added Last Man Standing yesterday or the day before. I brought back the 10 count KO option with no other way to win the match. Should be in the last test version, so I don't think I actually announced it in the test version, like the notes, because I actually forgot I did it until it was just mentioned right now. Game Pro Wrestling wants to know, has an emo or scene kid significantly aggravated you in the past, asking you to find the origin of your frothing vitriolic hatred of Jay White? I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you. No, I just don't like Jay White. I don't know, he just doesn't look like he should be in the position that he's in. No offense to him, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I've never met him, never talked to him, don't follow him on social media or anything. He's not an IWGP champion in my eyes, and never will be. I mean, no matter what you do to that guy, he's like Seth Rollins to me, and I know that a lot of people like Seth Rollins. He's not a champion. He's in a position that I just don't buy him in. Gaming Under Development wants to know, Carl, we talked about having the moves have a can finish toggle. Is that part of the move list mod now? No, it's one of those things that the basic functionality exists already in between two mods, which are the move list mod, which allows me to set specific stuff on the moves, and then the match booking mod, which allows me to basically say which mods or which moves are able to finish a match. So like the functionality exists, but it hasn't been blended together where where you can actually just select this move is possible to finish. So it's one of those things that maybe I will do in the future, but it isn't something I'm actively looking into or working on or thinking about. Am I missing the setting for making the mouse pointer disappear when the match starts? It is part of the no GUI mod, so you have to use the full no GUI like I am now in order to get rid of the mouse cursor. So if you still want things like the critical logo flashing on screen or the clock or whatever, you're kind of SOL in 2.0. Some comments on Jay White. Yeah, I mean, I just pushed too early. I don't think he was... It's not that he's not talented. I don't think he deserves that spot. I don't think he fits in that spot. It's not that he was pushed too early. It's that he was pushed too high. It would be... So, I like Cody Rhodes, and I know some people don't. I like Cody Rhodes. But if they gave Cody Rhodes, like, the WWE Championship, I probably wouldn't buy that either. It's not that he's bad. It's just that it's a spot that he has no business being in. So, let's see. Can we get a mod to change menu music? No. The menu music is basically built in. They're not MP3s. There's no function for loading MP3s in the menus. So, no, you can't get mods for to change the menu music at all. It's just not possible. Let's see what else is going on here. Are there any mods that you would like to do, but the current Sprite framework doesn't allow you to do? From Holy Roller TV. Yes, I'm sure. I mean, I would like to be able to add objects to existing scenes more reliably. I know Mike DG has done a little bit of it. He's the guy who created the patcher that we all use. And he's got a little more experience with, like, Unity proper than I do. But right now, the only way to add objects to a scene is basically to create your own scene in Unity engine and then superimpose that scene on top of the scene that has been loaded. And that's not the best way to do it. And so I really have been trying to find better ways to do it that could allow for maybe some hot loading of objects and that sort of thing. But it hasn't been possible with the way that Spike set up the game. So I guess that has been the biggest one, mostly in regards to weapons. I've tried to add custom weapons to the game, and it has not worked out. They always appear, basically, they don't appear. Like, there is a weapon in his hand, and it sounds like a weapon, and it performs like a weapon in the game. It just doesn't, the graphics never show up. So the model never renders. Would it be possible to make the match clock toggle again instead of lumped in with other match UI stuff? The thing is that, yeah, it's possible. I just the screen, the forms that I use for options are just so crowded that I got rid of a lot of the UI option, like the individual UI option stuff, because it helped to uncrowd the screens. So possible, yes. Probable, maybe. It's not something I've ever put any real thought into. So. And Amsterdam also wants to know, or he says it's super handy in Battle Royals and Ironmans. Yeah, I did. I mean, I can have it not disappear in those types of matches or pop back up every couple of minutes or something. It's like I said, there's ways that we could get around it that I haven't really thought about or addressed. But if the community wants to have a conversation about it, it's something that could possibly be done. So, yeah. Let's see here. I'm not sure what Key Crusher is saying about the custom moves to the move. Oh, okay. I know what he's talking about now. I thought it was a question, but it is not. Sunny615 says, Carl, I've been out of the mod scene for quite a while. Is there a noob-friendly tutorial that explains how to install everything from scratch and what each option does? Thanks and apologies if this was asked before. Actually, Takwan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has worked on a documentation for most mod stuff. You know what? This is going to go on forever. I didn't think about this. Let me see if I can do this. And then this. Alright. So, Carlzilla has a protected finisher, which I didn't think about, and I'm going to remove right now. And so anytime he does that armbar, it will just go on forever because protected finishers make submissions impossible to kick out of. So let's find the proper unable to retrieve form. Ugh. Oh, there it is. It popped up finally. Why is this? Okay, here we go. Protected finishers. Carlzilla, remove. Okay. Now that shouldn't happen again. Okay. So, but yeah, Taekwon did a wonderful documentation that explains most things. I don't know if it's been updated super recently, but it has most stuff explained on it. And there is some tutorials on like FirePro PC about installing, and I believe it was Key Crusher who did a video about installing the mods, and that video was for 1.02, but it's still pretty much accurate for 2.0 plus. So those are probably your best resources. The video can be found on YouTube. And FirePro PC has a modding section, and pinned in that section is a basic mod use 101 thread that will have text instructions. So could a mod be made to make a specific move illegal and an instant DQ, i.e. when WCW banned the Jackknife Powerbomb and Nash did it anyways? Or the Brass Knucks, Amsterdam 85. Yes, I do that currently with the chair shots if you have, instant DQ for weapon use. So yeah, no, totally that can be done. They would just need to be added to the list of moves, to a list of moves that are checked. But yeah, no, that's totally possible. And I think I've actually done that in several of the tutorial match mods, like the UWFI mod, where certain, like, groin shots would be an automatic disqualification. So yeah, that's totally possible. Moneyman2J says, hey Carl, I remember in 1.02 there was an MMA judges mod. Can that be brought over to 2.0? I think it's dumb for gruesome fighting and S1 matches to end in a draw. It's possible. I didn't bring it over because it's a lot of hooks in the code, and so I just sort of, when I was moving mods forward, I didn't bother. Okay, so count out there, I guess. I forgot that information is pooled before the match starts, so removing it won't do any good. So let's restart that. 76% for a draw. We'll go with another wrestler. We'll put this guy in. We'll change the wrestler here. Everybody likes Takata, so we'll do that. Oh, that's not... Come on. I don't know why my computer is running really slow all of a sudden. There he is. Okay. So, yeah, it's a matter of me not doing it when it was being moved over, but yeah, it could be done. Can I get the... to explain the move list question? No, inside joke, but no. Nobody's getting my phone numbers, even as a joke. Will says, ooh, you can update the protected finishers in real time. Neat. No, I thought you could, but you can't. They're queried at the beginning of the match, not every time a move is done. So, yeah, I thought you could, but I was wrong. Something super minor. Is it still impossible to take screenshots with F12? If not, perhaps add some sort of option to the mod itself. Taking screenshots is a fetish, and I don't want to lose that option. There's not much I can do about it. It's a Steam thing. It's not a FirePro thing. It's not a mod thing. It's a Steam thing. If you have modded DLLs in any Steam game, sometimes they don't respond to the Steam overlay very well. So no, there's nothing I can do. And I can't. Steam would have a bitch fit if I started hooking their DLLs and to enable things in the mod pack, if that makes sense. So I can't really do that, which is to add an ability to sort of take a screenshot from the mod if it disables it. For what it's worth, it's worked. It stopped working for me for a long time in 1.02, but it has worked for me ever since 2.0. So I think it's an individual case-by-case thing. So yeah, there's not much that can be done about the screenshot thing. If you value screenshots more than using mods, then just don't use them. If you want mods and want screenshots, use a third-party program. I use ShareX. I don't ever use the default Steam screenshot thing anyway because it's generally trash. Let's see. Alright, Key Crusher just linked that tutorial video for anybody else who is who's wondering. It will help set up the mods if you're new or thinking about it and haven't done it yet, or just feel like you may have done it wrong or something. So Holy Roller TV asks, are you a fan of Adam Ryland's TEW series? No, it's too complicated for me. I barely play FirePro, to be 100% honest with people. I enjoy modding a lot more than I do playing the game, and so I'm not really that much of a video gamer. I spend a lot of my free time modding, but I don't really play a whole lot. And so Adam's games are cool if you're into micromanaging wrestling. I am not into micromanaging anything in a video game, so I don't tend to enjoy them much. A Wild Will Appears asks, hey Carl, could you expand on where the option for setting moves to be illegal? That seems super useful, and thanks for the clarification on real-time moves. You basically, if I set anything to be a foul count, it will trigger the referee to come over and do a count, but if it's not like a submission hold, he never gets to 5. But you can set a check in his thing that basically, if a wrestler has just done a certain move, it automatically sets the count to 5 before he even starts checking, so the second that he gets over there, he'll disqualify. So the list could be user configurable, it could be configured by me. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, but it is absolutely possible. I know that with some of Vue's old mods, the lists for like doing it in in UWFI matches, for example, when Vue released that stuff, it was all user configurable. Like you could just set which moves you wanted to be an instant DQ. So, yeah. So that would probably be the way that I did it, because in some feds you might want a pile driver to cause an instant disqualification, and in other feds you may not. So I may go with user configurable stuff. Out of curiosity, why does FreeCam go so crazy in Battle Royals, and do you think that a workaround might ever be found? No, it's because the game is not meant to change angles, so the target is always like the target point is roughly the same. It just zooms out a little bit in matches with more people so that you can see more people. The problem with free cam is that cam changes so that the zooming out doesn't necessarily work anymore. And so I have to pick a wrestler for the free cam to target. And so in Battle Royals, it jumps between target to target to target because I can't always assume that wrestler 0, for example, the one that usually defaults to player 1, will actually still be in the match. So do you see what I'm saying? So if like you have 8 wrestlers, it's possible that wrestler 0 is eliminated immediately, and then I can't use that wrestler to free cam on. So I have to constantly keep choosing the wrestlers, and it just gets really confusing and complicated when you have more than one or more than 2 wrestlers to focus on. So no, I don't think that a workaround will ever be found, and I honestly think that your best bet for free cams in Battle Royals, I didn't want that. There we go. Would be to just turn it off in Battle Royals. That's pretty much your best option. So Jif Joe Gfo Joka, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. Asks, hey Carl, so how did you get into modding for this game or series? Well, I've known I've known multiple computer programming languages since I was in middle school, and I learned C# a couple of years back, and I've been a FirePro fan for I don't know, 25-ish years, and so I basically just put the two together when this came out in Unity, and I knew that Unity could be modded because I had modded another Unity game called 7 Days to Die before this, so I essentially I already had the tools to mod it. It was in Unity, and I had the knowledge to be able to do so, so I just went to town, and I ended up in a Discord server with Mike DG, the guy who wrote the patcher, and we just kind of all of us spent a lot of time testing sort of the limits of what could be done before the patcher came out, and we did that mostly in private, like it wasn't an open server. And then Mike released the patcher because he I guess that's what he does for a living. He works with sort of Mono, and that sort of that Mono is the sort of managed language that Unity games use. Mono, they use like a Mono version of C#, and so he had already been familiar with that, so he released the patcher, and I just went to town from there. I mean, it was just sort of a no-brainer, considering that I liked computer programming and I liked FirePro, so. Yeah, Key Crusher. Yeah, I realized that when I read the whole thing. I'm just kind of going down, and anytime my name is mentioned, I'm assuming that it's a question. So, I thought that the original thing was a question, but it wasn't after I got into reading it. Will wants to know, what other series, if any, have you got hella into modding for? I modded a little bit for, like I said, 7 Days to Die. Mostly the single-player game, because I don't like multiplayer stuff. It just doesn't interest me. And I wrote a lot of plugins for TNM 7. If you guys are familiar with that, it was an old DOS-based text wrestling simulator that did a really good job of simulating matches for the most part. So I wrote some plugins for that and was involved in that community. But really, other than that, I haven't modded for a whole lot of other games. Carl, what are your plans for the future? What do you see Fire Pro World modding develop? Do you think things are still ahead, or did we exhaust most options in creativity? Well, there's definitely some stuff that, some that we haven't figured out how to do. Like I was just talking about earlier, we still haven't been able to really get custom meshes or objects to load. Textures are fine, but like adding new weapons, we haven't been able to do that. Adding things like a new ladder or a ladder or something like that hasn't been possible. So yeah, there are still things that need to be figured out and that could be done. So hopefully, somebody figures that out and is able to get on that. I've tried multiple times and have never had much success, so I don't know whether I ever will at this point. But there's always stuff that could be done. I think for me, I've exhausted a lot of my creativity at this point. Like, I'm still doing stuff, but you'll notice that like new features are pretty sporadic, and the mod pack, like, official releases have slowed down because I'm not adding a whole lot of new stuff in general anymore. It's just sort of fixes and little things. So, but I still think there's a lot of room for people to to do creative things, and I think there's still a lot of stuff that we need to figure out still. Holy Roller wants to know, is there currently a way to play as the referee, or is a mod not possible? Or if not, is a mod possible for that? No. They are completely separate objects in the code than the players are, even though they look like they'd be the same because they use the same sprite banks and the same sprites and stuff, but they're totally separate. They don't have any fields for control or anything like that. You'd have to basically write a whole new referee object from scratch that could handle player input and all of that stuff. Not completely impossible, but also not likely something that I'm going to take up at any point in the near future. So, that could be something that some creative person really wants to do and gets a wild hair up their ass and does, because it's not impossible. It's just not something that would be. It's a very difficult mod, so. Game Pro Wrestling, who is Taquan, the guy who wrote the documentation, by the way, if anybody wants to thank him there. You could already do old school and make closed fist moves illegal. I don't think anybody's ever been disqualified, even in the olden days, for punching somebody with a closed fist. So, I'm not sure that you would need to go any farther than what's already there. Let's see. So, Voodoo wants to know that how King of Colosseum 2 compares to Fire Pro with mods. So, King of Colosseum 2 still has a better wrestling engine, in my opinion, even with the mods. But King of Colosseum 2 is also it's more limiting creativity-wise. You don't, because everything is a 3D model and that sort of thing. You're less able to imagine that the head part isn't who it's supposed to be, that sort of thing. So creativity-wise, Fire Pro with mod is way better. Wrestling engine-wise, I still would give the nod to King of Colosseum. And if they ever announced a new King of Colosseum for the PC, I would abandon Fire Pro so fast it would make your head spin. So, I prefer King of Colosseum. So, do you think the Cage AI will ever be not shit? No, Will, I do not. The thing is that I've tried to rewrite it, and I've made it a little better in that they don't try to climb out of the cage, like 3 minutes into the match anymore. But there's this weird, it has to be a bug that they just haven't addressed. But as soon as one player touches the cage, starts to climb it, every AI in the match will try to climb the cage on an endless loop, and I cannot figure out why they do that. So it would be very difficult for me to fix it if I can't figure out why it happens in the first place. So no, I don't think the AI will be garbage, or will never be anything but garbage. I just don't think that Spike isn't interested in fixing it, it seems like, and I haven't been able to figure out why it happens. So I recommend just playing cage matches with pinfalls and submissions, because really the WWF is the only federation of any sort of size that has ever done like escape cage matches. I think maybe TNA or whatever the shit that garbage place was did some too, but I mean really they're just aping the WWE. I mean, the whole point of the cage is that you're locking two guys in and having them fight it out, so the escape thing is just stupid, in my opinion. So just turn it off and use the cage use the cage match like a regular match. That's your best bet. Will also asks, speaking of new meshes and objects, do you think that we will ever crack that? Would new arenas be possible, or is that entirely different thing and there are no relation between them at all? No, arenas are meshes and objects, so if we could figure out how to load them properly, new arenas might be a possibility in the future. But it's one of those things. Arenas they're prefabs from Unity. You need to. I'm not like the biggest Unity. Like, I don't know Unity engine. Like, it's not my preferred programming, or my preferred creation method, but they're basically Unity prefabs, which are like a collection of meshes and textures and stuff that are then instantiated they're instanced in the game. And so if we could figure out how to load stuff and the proper setups for all of that stuff, they absolutely would be possible to load new arena objects in the game. We'd have to somebody would have to pull out the old ones and figure out how they're set up, because there may be certain triggers and trigger boxes and that sort of thing that tell the game where to load certain things. So we'd have to just figure it out. The issue right now is that nobody has ripped the old ones and loaded them in Unity. I'm not even 100% sure if that's possible. Like I said, because I'm not a giant. I know C#, but I'm not a big Unity guy. So I mean, somebody who knows Unity would have to be more on that than I am. I could help with the back end for getting them loaded, but as far as like the objects themselves in Unity, I think somebody else would have to do that. Romantic Misery, my question is, you think a better way to include new moves could be devised, one that doesn't eat up so much memory? No. So the idea of moves not eating memory, or a new way to load them, came from when I ported all of the DLC moves from 2.0 when it came out to 1.02, because we were all still using it for mods. I could use the files that are included in the resources file that comes with the 2.0 game, and I could load them that way. The thing is that so all of the forms are still being loaded when the game loads the form file, and all of the moves are, so it doesn't actually save any memory, it just loads them in different spots. So it really was one of those things where, like, it did save memory over loading all of the moves as bytes files, but it wouldn't save memory for custom moves. It was an option because the DLC moves that we moved between the versions were already included in the game, so all of the animations were already there. And that's basically where that myth comes from. There's not a better way to load custom moves, because the game has no way of knowing, is this animation custom or not. It just it needs to have all of that information stored in the move regardless. So that's sort of the way that works. And so no, I don't think that there's a better way to do it, or a way that and I think that's one of the reasons that Spike hasn't gone much farther with Wazamake, to be honest, is that there isn't a great way to do it without just limiting the amount of moves that are available. So, and I think that they've been trying to figure it out, because there have been updates to Wazamake code-wise, but they haven't released anything. So obviously there's still some issues that beyond, and I think just beyond Wazamake being all in Japanese and hard to use, there are issues that they haven't figured out. And Will asked, if they made the game 64-bit instead of 32-bit, would you die of happiness? No, but it would be nice. There's not a good reason for it not to be 64-bit. I know that the PlayStation 4 can handle 64-bit applications built with Unity. The only thing that I can think of would be that one of their plugins that they're using for Unity is a 32-bit plugin, and they don't want to buy a 64-bit version or a new plugin that would work in 64-bit that would allow it to be built in 64. So I think that we're basically stuck with what we got. Could it be rebuilt in 64? No, I just sort of addressed that. It wouldn't be possible. You'd have to have all of the Unity scenes and everything like that in order to rebuild it in 64-bit. So only Spike could do that, and only Spike knows the reason that it isn't in 64-bit. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. I've actually sent, I suggested it to Dave back when, Spike was a little more active in the community and stuff, and it just sort of, it didn't seem to catch a lot of traction. He said he'd relay it to the developers, but he never really, it didn't seem to go anywhere, so. Yo Charlie asks, have any of the custom move animators ever tried animating a move with a prop like the fork? Yeah, it doesn't work. That's one of the limitations of Wazamake right now. It won't let. It's got spots for loading objects, but then the object never saves or never loads, so it's just not possible. Key Crusher asks, can the exploding cage return to the series? No. It just, they function differently, I guess. like a little bit, it just wouldn't be possible, really. And I mean, there's not. I can't honestly think of any reason other than just. It's just a visual thing, so I mean, just use the one that's there, I guess. You know? I don't understand the need for it. Um, View says, I think the code needs to insert weapons for specific moves. It does. It changes like a dummy. What it looks like it does, and all I can say is what it looks like it does, is that it changes a dummy texture or a dummy object in the animation to the weapon of choice. And so like the chair magic has, it'll change all of this certain the certain dummy object into a chair. But then not every move has it. Like there's no one for the fork. It just it doesn't need its own setup like some of the other moves do. So I don't know. I don't know if that's and me and Dakota actually tried that with a move, and it still didn't work. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something, or if that's actually what the code is doing. I mean, that's what it appears to be doing, but I really couldn't give you a 100% answer on that. You could make Chuck Taylor's hand grenade move like that. You could, but why would you want to? There's another guy that doesn't. I don't understand. Not my thing. What was the finickiest mod you ever made? Shit. You'd think it would be something like custom textures and that sort of thing. I honestly think it was. I think I would have to say probably custom moves. They were so much effort, and there was a lot going on behind the scenes when it was a new thing, and they were a pain. And there was lots of changes and stuff going on back there. So I think that would probably be it. And by the time, of course, by the time they got public, I had already done all the work on it, so it didn't seem like like that thing probably hasn't changed since it was since I released it publicly. But back before it was public, when it was just a small group of us messing with it, it was getting updated pretty frequently. So speaking of the grenade, what spot do you think was a jumping the shark moment for pro wrestling? Honestly, I don't think that there was one spot. I don't think there was one thing. I think a lot of the ECW shit from the mid-90s would be my answer to that. I know that ECW is sort of a sacred cow to some people, and they love it. But honestly, I think that was that whole style, the Extreme Championship Wrestling thing, all it was hot-shotting and how can we top this? And it was trash. So that's my opinion, is that ECW basically was the death knell, in my opinion. So I mean, it's not even you brought up unprotected chair shots, and it's not even that stuff. I mean, that's stupid, and why wouldn't you protect? I mean, if you're trying to look at wrestling as a real thing, why wouldn't you protect yourself? I mean, the only reason to take a unprotected chair shot is to show that you're tough or something, and it just doesn't make any sense if you're looking at it as a contest. But it isn't even just those; it's just everything. The backstage garbage, it was set up to kill wrestling. It was something different, and I'll give it that it was different at the time. But it literally was. It was different. It was so different that it basically exposed a lot of stuff and killed a lot of things, and gave the fans who joined around that time, or when the Attitude Era was sort of aping what they had done in ECW, the expectation that it just needed to be boom, 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 one thing after another. Everything has got to be bigger than the thing before it, and I don't know, that ruined it for me. So that's my opinion on the death of wrestling. It was sort of an ECW thing, and then it was perpetuated even farther by the Attitude Era. So, honestly, so some of the campy characters from early 90s WWF they were silly, but they weren't as bad as like the new generation. There was no fucking I basically lost interest in the WWF in 1992. So, like, there were some campy characters like the Mountie or Big Boss Man, but those characters worked. Jacques Rougeau really, the Mountie thing worked for him. He worked it. It was okay. It was silly, but it worked. Big Boss Man was silly, but it worked. Doink. Somebody just brought up Doink the Clown. Doink worked as a heel. It was stupid and it was silly, but it worked. Papa Shango worked. It was silly, but it worked. It wasn't. They weren't fucking Sparky Plug or Mantor or anything. Mantar. So it just. It didn't. They were dumb, but they weren't like business exposing sort of dumb. They were just silly, And that's why I can hang with that stuff, but I have no interest in ECW. Is because the ECW stuff, it was dumb and it was business exposing dumb. It was smack you in the face that this is not real dumb, and it was over the top for the sake of being over the top, with no regard to how that was to the long-term sustainability of being over the top. So, we've outed a Mantar fan. But yeah, that was kind of, and like I said, I got out of it in about 1992-ish. And so yeah, it was what it was, And I was younger when all of that stuff was happening. So I was looking at it, I've got some I guess you would call it fond memories, of that era. And so that helps paint that helps me overlook some of the stupid shit that happened. Just curious, could you give a brief explanation as to why custom crowds just started bugging out a while ago? Will wants to know. I think it may have something to do with them switching the crowds from from like one image to a bunch of different images depending on the size, because that's really when it started flipping out. And it's just something that it's so much work that very few people were going to make active use of it on any kind of major level, so it wasn't worth me investing all of the time in, since it came out at the same time as Fire Promoter. to get that working when there were so many other things going on with Fire Promoter that I could be fixing or changing or making better. And so, it just got scrapped. It's not worth the energy, considering the amount of user effort it requires on top of the effort on my side. It just didn't seem like it was a viable thing. I mean, it's cool, and I made custom crowds for my Royal Ring stuff because I tend to make custom everything when I do Royal Ring stuff, because it's something I can get into. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of work on both fronts. It's a lot of work on the end user, and it's a lot of work on me. And it's sort of like Tron's, the custom entrance videos. So few people were going to use that to a level that it, made much of a difference, that it just really wasn't worth me spending the time and effort on it. Key Crusher wants to know, can exiting the ring and barbed wire... Yeah, I can bring that back. It's just something that, I thought it looked like shit. And it does. It looks like shit. There's not an animation for it. The ropes aren't the same as the default ropes, so, it doesn't look right. The ropes don't interact. It just looks like trash. But it's 100% possible to bring it back, yeah. So, at some point, maybe I will. I don't know. With MOTW being able to run a deathmatch in another arena, is deathmatch 30-man rumbles possible? No. As far as I know, no. Somebody tried it, actually, and what ends up happening is... So if you use the barbed wire ring, for instance, there's no way for them to get in the ring. If you use the cage, there's no way for them to get into the ring. If you use the one with the... what is it? The boards in the corner and the barbed wire boards outside. I think it might work, but I haven't tried. So, I mean, you can give that a try and see if it works. And it's not something I'm interested in supporting, to be honest. Like, that sounds like a logistics nightmare to me. Is there any deathmatch wrestling you actually liked? No, not really. I liked it when I was younger. To be honest, I mean, I liked old FMW. So yeah, no, there is some deathmatch wrestling I liked. I liked old FMW stuff. I liked, the Combat Toyota Megumi Kudo match was great. The Shark Megumi Kudo match was great. There was some good deathmatch wrestling. And then it got... And I mean, even FMW is guilty of this, but it got to the point where it got fucking stupid. Fucking exploding anus death matches didn't need to happen, and they were a thing. It just, barbed wire ropes matches are great, and they can be fun and entertaining, and they can add drama if they're done right. But generally, I find a lot of it to be just silly. But I did like some of that stuff. Especially, like, I liked IWA Mid-South back in the day. Despite Ian Rotten being a gigantic piece of human garbage. But back in the day was like, I like the King of the Deathmatch tournament that he did in 1997, and then by the time he got around to doing later ones in like 2001 or whatever, it was just like I'm done. Like this just isn't interesting to me anymore. Like, and I actually legitimately liked some of the deathmatch wrestlers that were more like I love Necro Butcher. A dude, he looked like complete shit, but was I don't know. He had a look to him, He wasn't a wrestler. He was a brawling guy, and he could have worked as a good brawler in not like sort of the hardcore matches that were not death matchy, Like, and I thought his what was it? The match with Samoa Joe that he had was great, It's not that I just I'm not Jim Cornette in the fact that, like, if you do that stuff, I think that you're completely shit. I also really like Spider Nate Webb, if you're familiar with Nate Webb. So it's like I thought that there were good guys who did that stuff. But yeah, just as a general thing, it's not my thing, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like once I hit my adult years, I guess. Will is asking, what are the custom moves you want to see that we don't have yet? I usually tap Dakota for that, to be honest. He's done a lot of moves for me that are not in any other game because he just makes them, and he doesn't really share his moves so much. But if I ask him, he usually helps me out or makes them for me, and then I can have them. So. So I sort of have a line on just being able to ask one of the better move creators, like, hey, I'd really like to see a heart punch, and he made me a heart punch. Or I really would like Barry Windham's float over stalling suplex. He made that for me. Or the Fuller leg lock for my Ron Fuller edit. Or so I've had a line on that for a while. He also made the Vegematic for my Midnight Express and the Demolition Decapitation for my Demolition edits and stuff. So totally, I've been able to get them. So there's not much that I haven't been able to get that I'd like to have. So, sorry, I don't mean to make y'all jealous, but yeah. So I've been able to get pretty much what I want. Oh yeah, that was View. That suplex works for me. I mean, it looks fine. I'm not looking. Also, when I get these moves, and sorry, Dakota, I didn't mean to out you there, and I didn't mean to forget that the suplex was yours, View. But yeah, it's when I get the moves, I'm not looking for. I don't need them. Like, I think that Sunid's moves look fantastic, but I don't need them to for every move to look that fantastic. So View is trashing his suplex, but it looks really good to me. So it works for me. Okay, so I'm actually way down. I need to scroll back up in the thing so that I can get back to some questions here. Let's see. The interview mod, honestly, the interview mod is probably the one that I'm most proud of. It's so outside the scope of Fire Pro that I was impressed with myself, not to sound like a total fucking douchebag or anything, but I was really impressed with myself that I managed to get that to work. And it was like a really interesting combination of existing things and stuff that allowed that to work. So I really was impressed with it. So that's probably one of my favorite mods too, as far as just things that I've been able to do. Gaming Under Development asks, Carl, how did the old entrance vids work? Was it like an animated ring, or were they just videos? So they were video texture files. Unity supports these things called video textures. They basically take a OGV video, like a OGG video file, and Unity will convert them from MP4s or any other video file, basically. And I just loaded that in place of the textures, just like the flames or the startup splash screen is loaded now. So it just was a replacement for those. But that's really all it was. But the issue that I had with it was that in Big Garden Arena, some of the screens didn't load, even though there's no reason for them not to, and it was a mess. It was a real mess, and I didn't feel like it was good enough to bring forward. I don't like it when things half work. Generally, I'll put up with it if it's like a really cool feature that a lot of people are using, or that I really get a lot of use out of, like the individual wrestler move rename mod only half worked for a long time because I was too lazy to go back in and enable it on other menus. But I fixed that eventually too, because I got a lot of use out of it and there was no reason not to, you know. So that's sort of how that stuff works. If it's not something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of, or the community isn't getting a ton of use out of, and it doesn't work, there's a good chance that I'm going to remove it at some point, because I don't like it when things don't work. It just reflects poorly on the mod pack. Like, you know, I'm not getting paid for this, but I also don't want it to look like amateur hack garbage. So, you know, I try to keep things working and reasonable for the most part, you know. So, next question here. Tiger Stripe Pro asks, what are your feelings on edit makers using templates to create new edits? I do from time to time, but I feel guilty somewhat. I honestly don't care. You know, I like my edits set up I have a very specific sort of, I don't want to call it OCD, because I hate it when people use that term, because OCD is a disease and not like just being compulsive about something or being obsessive about something. But so like my logic is almost always in by 5s, except for when I'm dealing with finishers and I want to set it at 7 or 6 but generally, like, I freak out if people set logic to like 23% on something. It bugs the shit out of me. I have no idea why. You know, so I have sort of templates that I follow too. So, you know, if you want to use DJKMs and do editing on it, then that's fine, you know. If you don't want to do editing, then that's fine too. Just be sure to note that you use DJKM's templates, you know. Because I know that, I mean, personally, I think DJKM is great, and I've helped him with stuff, and but I don't always enjoy watching his edits go, because we have different views on what edits should be doing in the ring. And so, you know, it's like, I would like to know if you're using that template, so I can know, oh, I'm going to have to adjust this, or whatever, you know. But I don't see any problem with it at all. I don't think there's any reason to feel guilty. Let's see. Going down. What custom parts do you want that we don't have? Well, so, and I don't know whether I upset one of the guys who was making custom. I think I can't remember his name. James P. JP. You know, and I didn't mean to when I brought it up, but he didn't seem upset, but I feel like maybe I bugged him a little bit. But I basically was like, why does anybody ever wants to make our like super specific parts? Justin P. I just had to look him up. You know, and we had a conversation about it, but all anybody ever wants to make are super specific parts for very specific wrestlers. And I feel like, when I made the custom parts, I was hoping for just a ton of general parts, keeping in the spirit of Fire Pro, where things were just sort of, you had to use a little bit of imagination to imagine that that's what it was supposed to be. Like I didn't imagine, people making, like super specific logos for, fucking Kurt Hawkins pants. It's like, first off, who the fuck wants Kurt Hawkins pants? And secondly, I feel like maybe that wasn't what I envisioned, I guess, I was hoping for more really generic things or really unspecific things that could be just generally applied. And so I would love to see more very general, useful, utilitarian parts more than specific wrestler parts, It's like, it's great that we can make Cactus Jack's Wanted shirt with the actual Wanted poster now, but I'd rather, have, I don't know, I'm drawing like a blank here, but, I'd rather have something less specific than that, than those, so I guess that's my thing with custom parts. And that's also why I don't have a whole lot of custom part files installed in my game, is because I find a lot of them are super specific, and so I tend not to use them. Let's go with some. Okay, so now I need to find my place again. All right. So let's see here, trying to find the next question. Amsterdam asks, do you think there ever could be some sort of simplified match commentary mod? I was sort of thinking like easy theme, just a folder of MP3s. So the problem with loading MP3s on from a folder is that on some machines it causes a stutter, and I've been trying to avoid doing that. Because not everybody is, like, my computer is not a fucking beast machine by any stretch of the imagination, but it runs FirePro fine. But there are some people running this thing on, their i3, with 4 megabytes of RAM and, an Intel video card. And so trying to load MP3s on the fly with that, it will inevitably lead to stuttering and people complaining, and honestly, I don't want to deal with people being like, well, can you fix the stutter for me? It's like, no, stop using the fucking mod, It's like you're running the machine on a fucking watermelon and you want it to work perfectly, and there's just no way that that's going to happen. But the problem is that, when you tell people that, they just assume that, I used to not mind coming off like an asshole, but I'm kind of an ambassador for the modding community at this point, so, there's only so much asshole I can be without kind of reflecting poorly on the community as a whole. So I try not to be as much of an asshole these days, if that makes sense. So I don't want to have to tell people to fuck off and not use it. I'd much rather just sort of not release it, I guess, if that makes sense. So yeah, no, I don't think that I will get back into the commentary mod. It was a great proof of concept. I may at some point work on the text commentary mod, so that there would be text that popped up like your commentators were talking. That's a possibility in the future, but MP3s are out of the question. Dakota says that he appreciates the no tie-up mod. That's Zinsky. That was all Zinsky. He's the one who wrote the original mod. He gave me permission to put it in the mod pack. Then, I mean, I tweaked it so that, you know, you had options with it, you know, because he didn't have a UI or anything like that. He just removed the tie-up animation from everything, including player matches and stuff. You know, so like I tweaked it so that you could still play the game or sim the game, that sort of thing. But really, he deserves all the credit for that. It's not me. Let's see. Still trying to find questions in the thing. I'm glad that you guys are being talkative. I'm honestly not reading the chat a whole lot because I'm, you know, talking and trying to find questions in it, so it looks like Big P120 or 1120 says, Carl, I love the fantasy draft option for promoter. Is there any more promoter mods coming? Well, the test version has... I enabled it so you could... If some guy is not scouted and you'd really like him to be, you can just check a box and he'll show up now. So that I think that's in the last test version, but it isn't public. It isn't like in the official release yet. I'm trying to think if I did any other... If I added anything else to Fire Promoter. Not really. I've been working on the debut system a little more, that sort of thing, but nothing new that is right now, you know. Let's see. Jiffo Joka says, question, you've made mods so that bloodstains remain permanent instead of fading away. Is there a reason why green mist or the other colors doesn't apply? No. Because I haven't told it to do that. And honestly, the bloodstains, so they're their own objects, and the green mist is not. It's a texture that gets applied to the edit. So part of the reason why it disappears is because I'd have to update the form renderer for the edit and tell it not to. And I don't like messing with the form renderer that much because it's fickle and sensitive. So as often as I can not do that, I prefer to not do that. So. Gaming and Development asks, Carl, would it be possible to make a mod component to auto-priority a pinfall after dives to save priority slots? No. Not really. So, well, I don't want to say no. Yes, I could. It could be done. It would be... Yeah, I could do it. I mean, thinking about it now, yeah, I could think of a couple of ways that could be done without really messing up your edits. So, yeah, that could be done. It's something that I could consider for the future if enough people think it's a good idea. So. But it really just depends on whether enough people think it's a good idea or not. So. Do you ever think we could get multicolored mist, Will asks? No. I've tried a bunch of different times to get that mist to recolor, and it just will not work. So, no. It isn't happening. I mean, that's been one of the things that people have been asking me since day one. Voodoo mentions that doing things by fives and the logic is too limiting. Yeah, it can be, and to be honest, it's not like I can't. It's not like I have to have it that way. It's just that's the template I always use. I set everything up by 5 and then I'll adjust from there. It's not like all of my edits are stuck on 0 or 5. It's always adjustable. It's just not always I use that as my starting base for every edit ever. It's always multiples of 5. Kurt Hawkins getting shit on as per usual. Yeah, that's how far behind I am, folks. I'm still reading your comments about me talking about Kurt Hawkins. Let's see here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I totally would still send people pictures of prolapsed anuses if they harassed me to the point where I felt they needed a picture of a prolapsed anus, as far as as far as being PG. But, like, the threats of me doing that are probably in the past, it just... it was funny at the time, but I think a lot of new people didn't, they didn't... I guess they didn't come up with me in the Fire Pro community, so they weren't really aware of my sense of humor, so, it was one of those things that was sort of, if you knew me, it was fine. If you didn't know me, it was kind of lost. To expand on text commentary, could we possibly do pictures of some shit for certain moves, certain things, triggering them? Like a pin or a 2.9 gets a picture. Maybe. I'd have to look into it. I honestly don't know what would be possible with that at this point. I'd have to look. Tiger Stripe Pro asks, what do you see as the future of Fire Pro once Spike has concluded DLC regular support? So, for Fire Pro in general, I see the PS4 version dying a pretty... a fairly fast death for the legs that Fire Pro generally has. I think that community will fucking... I think Spike will pull the plug on the PS4 workshop. I give them maybe 2 years after they stop supporting it, because they have to pay for that out of pocket. It's not like Steam, where Steam is paying for the workshop as long as Fire Pro is being sold on the workshop, or just sold on Steam, because they get like 24% of all of the sales. The PlayStation 4 is everything is paid for by Spike. So I think that will die pretty quickly. And then, honestly, I think that people will probably have to rebuy it on the PC, and I think that the modding community is the community for Fire Pro, honestly. And I'm not just being self-serving. The game won't have the same sort of legs that Returns did, because this is basically Returns already. So some of the older folks have been playing this game with very little changed since 2005. So, I think without the mods, the community will sort of dry up, and I think that the modding community will be the one that sticks around. And that's my opinion of sort of the future of the Fire Pro world once Spike stops support. Do you know what custom parts are on Sex McDuff? He looks great. I don't off the top of my head, but I could take a picture or open him up in edit mode at the end of this if you want to look, Will. The back of his trunks are the Midnight Express parts. I can't remember who did them. I think it might have been Oni who did them, to be honest. But yeah, I do know that the back of his trunks are the Midnight Express parts. So so what Yo Charlie asked, I saw your Hulk Hogan work in progress concept where he ripped off his shirt during his entrance. Is it possible to tag a wide swath of parts for removal? Or do you have to specify an individual part? So it was basically a taunt. What it was is you do a taunt and it would trigger a whole new sprite. So you could actually totally change. It wasn't just one part. You could totally change. I mean, he could taunt and become the Hulk, like the Green Hulk, if you wanted, completely changing the entire sprite for that particular wrestler. So you could tag whatever parts you wanted, to be honest, for individually for each wrestler. But I haven't actually brought that over to 2.0. It's just something that hasn't been moved forward. So it could come forward at some point, but right now it has not. Key Crusher wants to know if we get a Powerball system like King of Colosseum. Not really. Fire Pro just isn't set up for it. I mean, you could do it, but it wouldn't, like, there isn't a visual presentation on screen for Fire Pro and Powerballs at all. I mean, not to say that it couldn't be done, but it would be one of those things that would have to be overlain in a new scene with Unity, and it would be a big pain. So, honestly, I don't see anybody taking it up. I'm certainly not going to do it. Let's see here. I'm still looking through the thingy. I'm still a little behind. Yo Charlie asked, do you think they'll try a Switch, PS5, Xbox One? Are you serious they're going to call it the Xbox One 2? I hope fucking not. That's fucking ridiculous. Somebody should smack the person who came up with that. Do you think they could port it to any of those consoles in the future? Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. I mean, here's the thing. I think that they'd be committing... both treason and suicide to try to port to another system right now. But after development ends, I don't see why they couldn't. You know, there's no reason why they couldn't. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't just hand the code over to another company and say, "Well, here you go. You know, do this." So, I mean, it really just depends. But yeah, I could see them doing something like that. We'll do another Sex McDuff match since everybody liked him. We'll stick him in there with one of Zealot's edits from Youth Pro Style, which is a King of Colosseum fed I used to run. Okay, so now that that's set up, we can get back into the questions and things. So, if Spike ever make another Fire Pro game, what would you like to see from Tiger Stripe Pro? You know, I honestly haven't put a lot of thought into it. I'd like to see a lot of the stuff that I've done myself officially in the game. Other than that, I don't know. That's really all I can think of. I'd like to see the options that I've added be made official. I mean, that wouldn't be super exciting for me in the sense that nothing would be really new, but I can't think of anything really new that they need to add, you know? One thing, I guess, okay, so one thing I would like to see them add is something that Gaming Under Development asked about earlier and that I had talked about, which would be like a toggleable thing in the moveset editor to basically set which moves can finish a match. I'd like to see them add that, because I think that would add a lot of flexibility with logic and stuff when you're programming the logic. So I'd like to see that. Amsterdam has a particularly crazy question, apparently. Would it be possible to make a mod where the screen goes dark during a run-in and stays black till the intruder hits the ring, like the old classic lights out interference spot? Probably. I'd have to look at how to fade the screen out. I think I did actually look at that in Unity once before, and I'd have to have Unity Pro to be able to do it. So whether I could do it or not, I don't know. But I think it's probably possible. Let's see here. High level. Level is stopping in just to say hi. He's been a part of the community for quite a while, so I figured I would acknowledge him there. And Amsterdam now has a dumb question. When I'm playing on my little laptops, the screen's so small I can't see the last few cam fields in the Cam AI editor and can't scroll down. Can the window be made scrollable? Possibly. I honestly thought that it should be. I don't think I've disabled the scroll bar, but maybe I have, so I'd have to look. The thing is that, so I run the game on a fucking retardedly large monitor, I guess, or one with a super high resolution. I have it's what is it? It's one of those 2556 by 1440 resolution monitors. So I never have much of a problem with the size of the windows, but I know some people do, and maybe I should pay more attention to that, but I don't. So, if you have an issue with it, your best bet is to remind me on the Discord about it, and maybe I can look into it. View asks, could you modify run-ins so that the edit actually runs into the ring? Yeah, I suppose that could be done. I don't know why they didn't do that to begin with, but yeah, I mean, I'd have to take a look at, Alaska Malamute, I think it was, who did the custom entrance mod, and see how he's doing it there. I know it can be done. I've never actually attempted to do it myself, so I'd probably need to look and see how that's being done, and then I could do it from there. Custom voices for wrestlers possible from Tiger Stripe Pro? Yeah, sure. It was actually part of the commentary mod. You could set new voice samples that triggered on a per move basis for individual edits. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Will asks, Carl, what's that one mod that you had planned that you just couldn't get to work at all, if there are any that we don't know about? Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything, if there was anything that I tried that just did not work out. I have tried several times to get things like custom arenas and objects into the game, to be honest. And I mean, I've mentioned it a little bit on here before, and I think I've mentioned it on some of the other Ask Me Anythings that I've done. But you know, those are really the only things that I've really done that just don't work. I've also tried to fix. Recently, I tried to fix the fucking jumbling that happens when you delete a whole promotion, not just a stable, but a whole promotion. And that did not work. I cannot figure out how Spike has fucked that up so badly that it cannot be fixed, because it just, I thought I had it fixed until I realized that it was removing promotions, it was moving promotions down into fucking, it was just gross. It's gross. It's seriously gross. The way that they're doing it just does not work. And I don't know how the hell they managed to think that that was acceptable. But that's the one that I've been trying to do that I've just never been able to get to work. So, and it's mostly a quality of life thing. It's not even like an impressive one. Could a silent option be added to the extra venue settings mod? I believe if you use it on any ring mat, it adds a crowd to your dojo no matter what. Yeah, I could probably do that. I honestly, I didn't think about it, but disable, like for the crowd sound, a disable option could be done. Let's see here. Alright. I think I got probably about another, I don't know, about another half an hour in me to answer questions, and then, you know, and then I'm good for the day. So we'll do a couple more matches. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them. If you've been waiting or you don't feel like they're important or something, you know, go ahead and ask. It doesn't matter.
Here's my question. Why do you do this?
Smallzilla is yelling in the background. I skipped what, huh?
On his way to the ring, weighing in at 207 pounds, representing Japan, Kazu Narita.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I am looking into currently that I'm trying to figure out how priority, like how the trigger actions work, not the triggered actions work, not the trigger actions. I want to try to add some more options for priorities so that you could maybe prio things into the corner to center or an out-of-the-ring dive. Of course, the out-of-the-ring dive would predicate that the move left the opponent out of the ring, but if it did, you could prio it into a dive. If it didn't, then, then it wouldn't matter. So that's one thing that I'm definitely looking into. But it's one of those things that I don't have a working prototype or anything for it. It's just one of those things that's on my to-do list that I've been actively researching and trying to figure out lately. Will wants to know how I put together the voice samples. So they are actually from, I cannot remember his name, and I don't have He posted a thing on Critical Club offering his voice services to anybody in the mod section. It should still be there. So you can look at Critical Club. I can't, we all know that I'm banned from Critical Club, so I can't get on there and check what his username is, but it should still be there. No, it's not Josh. Josh offered to, and Josh did some of the commentary for the commentary mod. He had done some of that work, but somebody separate did my ring announcer stuff. Oh, I skipped your question right after Will's. Let's look. Oh, the adult-only workshop. Yeah, I think I gave my opinion on that pretty vociferously to the idiot who suggested it. If you want to make wrestlers that look like giant cock and balls, then that's fine. But if you think that you're some fucking comedy genius because you make edits that look like giant cock and balls, you're probably a shitbag, and your opinions don't need to be taken seriously. It's like, so, everybody's got their own, humor is subjective, but, Adolf Hitler parody edits and, edits that look like a penis and stuff like that are... If you find that humorous, then I probably don't have very much respect for you in the first place. So I didn't really pull my punches when I told him that I thought that he was a sexually repressed retard, essentially. So yeah. Yeah, Smallzilla thought it was pretty funny, the cock and balls edit.
You describing it is pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean... What's a weird request? The cock and balls? No, this stems from, so on the Steam forums, I'll go into it for Level since he hasn't been around. There was this guy who asked about an adults-only workshop because he was sick of his Adolf Hitler and giant penis edits being removed from the workshop because they violate Steam's terms of use, essentially. And so he suggested a adults-only workshop. And I said, well, that's a shitty idea because all that's going to be is the sort of people who post porn edits, like the dick and balls that this guy tried to get off, or edgy idiots who think that, Benito Mussolini is a sweet edit, And so, yeah, I basically told him that I thought it was a stupid idea, and he got really mad and started acting like, basically telling people that my opinion was unsolicited when the whole point of the thread was to solicit the community's opinion on his idiotic fucking adults-only workshop thing. And eventually I just, I stopped posting there, but it was pretty fucking ridiculous. And then we later found out that this guy basically favorites his own edits so that they look like they're more important than they, just dumb shit like that. Yeah, Smallzilla said it best. What a frickin' loser. Will is asking, can we get a mod where any and all stupid-ass edits get replaced with less stupid edits? If only. But, I'm sure that some people don't find their edits stupid, and, if I'm left to be the arbitrator of stupid edits, then there are a lot of edits that you guys like that I probably would, that would get replaced with less stupid edits, so, yeah. That's why it's best to just, like I said, if the guy wants to make and post cock and ball edits, that's great. But Steam says it's not, and just fucking deal with that, If he doesn't want to deal with that, make him friends only. I don't know, There's no reason that he can't work around it. I've actually been using a lot of real edits lately. I know that I've been pretty vocal on the fact that I don't generally use real world edits, but most of my playing time has been with. So I've been collecting edits from like Jay Bravos and Avenger and Skull Bandit and a couple of others that cover 60s and 70s wrestling, and I've been using that in Fire Promoter in conjunction with the debuts mod to sort of go through from starting in 1965 with a smaller collection of edits, and then they'll grow as wrestlers debut and stuff. So I have been using a lot of real edits recently, actually. Do that as an April Fool's joke. Maybe next year I will. I'll include a special file with the mod that just loads Carlzilla into every edit slot, or to every slot. Anytime the game loads an edit, it'll just overwrite it with Carlzilla for the match. That would be pretty amusing. Could you possibly add weapon strikes to downed opponents? Maybe. I'd have to look into it, honestly. I don't see why it couldn't happen if you're holding a weapon. The only issue that I have with it is that the animations would have to be the same. There aren't new animations for weapon strikes to a downed opponent, so you'd still get the same 3 weapon animations. But, yeah, I think that definitely could happen. Can we map weapon pickup to a trigger rather than down and triangle? No. I mean, you could. I could, yes, but no. It's not something that could be done without a bunch of code changes, and I'm not sure that the code. I mean, just get better at doing it. I mean, I hate to be that person that's like, just get good, bro. But I mean, really, it's not very difficult to do, and it's way easier in this version of Fire Pro than it's ever been in any of the other ones. So I'm not sure I understand the need for it. Big P is asking, this may be a dumb question, but is there a way to have a match end at a specific time? So I didn't add that into the booking mod because it's a giant pain in the ass. So I'll explain why. So let's say you book a match to end at, let's say, 12 minutes. But at 12 minutes, they're outside the ring. Or at 12 minutes, one of the edits is up on the turnbuckle, or something like that. Well, how do you adjust for that? You have to write all of these contingency, all of this contingency code that deals with all of these possibilities that may never happen, or may be super rare, but you still have to account for that. Sorry. And so, it's a giant pain in the ass. And so I just didn't do it. I figured if you need a match to end at a certain time, I couldn't think of an instance where you really would need a match to end at a certain time, because it's not like we're running, it's not like this isn't TEW where you're having to worry about fucking timing of, like you only have an hour and a half on the show, and you've got to fit everything in, and that's the sort of micromanaging I just don't enjoy anyway. So, no. It isn't impossible, but it'd be a lot of work, and it'd be difficult, and I don't really see a reason for it, I guess, is the best way to answer that. It's actually Skull Bandit, like the chewing tobacco, not Skull Bandit. Will is really impressed with the guy's work. I really wish I could remember his name. He's done victory announcements and entrance announcements for me, and it was always really pleasant and really quick about it. Just a cool guy, but I just cannot remember his username to save my life. He's not on the Discord, I don't think, and I think that may be why, because I've been banned from the Critical Club for what, like 6 months now, 7 months. So I haven't seen his name in like 7 months, you know. But he did a great job with it. Could I just disable match ending till a certain time is reached? Yeah, that would be a lot easier to do. So yeah, I could do that. I mean, I already do that when you select Broadway from the winner screen. It disables the match ending until the time limit is reached. So it could totally be moved to like 30 minutes, you know, or something like that. So, but currently there's no option for that or anything, but it could be implemented. Yeah, well, I mean, the April Fool's joke this year was kind of, it was sort of a little bit on the tame side, I guess. Ace did the fake ladder match announcement with an image, but it wasn't really, there wasn't much to it other than that, so. Tag matches, I don't know. So what I do is I use the real-time mod. So all of my matches, like the clock counts in real time. So tag matches don't generally go for more than about 15 minutes, which is pretty average for a tag match. I mean, unless you're watching or interested in modern WWE where they might go like 6 minutes or something, there's nothing I can do to help you there. I mean, that's just that style, and Fire Pro doesn't do a great job of replicating that style. If you want that style, there's always WWE 2K. And, I think a lot of people know that I actually enjoy the WWE 2K game, so it's not like that's not me being like, well, fuck off and go play this shitty game or anything. It's just, that's going to do a much better job of replicating that style than Fire Pro ever will, so, It's like, if that's what you want, you might as well go and get it properly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to bring the tag matches back to a reasonable thing. Short interference, check time, short, quick count time, that sort of thing. Because a lot of the reason that they go so long is because they're constantly getting broken up by the partner. So. Yeah, submission moves help too, because they trigger usually, if they're gonna end the match, they trigger immediately instead of giving the opponent time to kick out or, to break it up. So that's another good way to do it, is, have one of the guys on the team have a submission signature or something, So. Oh. Alright, I'm going to drink some of my Arnold Palmer here. Yeah, referee pacing is, it's really overlooked. I know Wonderland wrote a pretty decent guide on it. You should be able to find that one on Critical Club as well. He really, he gets into the minutia of how things work. So his stuff is usually pretty good. I love Wonderland, but he's very frustrating to have in an eFed or something because he really, it's like, he can tell, for some reason he can tell the difference between like a 1% change in logic. It's just, it's like savant almost. It's ridiculous. So, but he definitely wrote a pretty good guide on that, and I recommend checking it out if you haven't really messed with any of the ref pacing options at all. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually run into Wonderland much these days because I don't end up on the Critical Club stuff anymore. But he definitely is one of the few people from that area that I miss. I always liked Wandy. Sunny615 asks, any chance to mod the ability to do diving moves from the top to an opponent laying on the ground on the outside? I actually, there's a good, somebody asked earlier about things that I modded in that failed. That's one of them. So I actually enabled that, and what happens is you will dive to a downed opponent, and if you hit them, they will stand up and then do the animation like they were hit. It's really bizarre. But it's because the game is expecting them to be standing at the point when they're hit if they're on the outside of the ring from a top rope move. So it's I don't think it's something that I'm going to be able to change or just get rid of. So that was something that I tried and something that I did end up achieving, but it did not work properly. So. Because I was pretty happy when I figured out that I could do it, that it was gonna work. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna work. That's so fucking cool, And then it was just like, fuck you. So. And that was kind of shitty. But it happens. I mean, you can't win them all. So, I don't know, I guess you must have missed it earlier, but I was saying one of the things that I'm working on now is looking at adding some of those missing, the missing priority. I'm assuming that you're talking about, like, being able to prio strikes and things like that. And so, I'm looking at trying to figure that out, actually. I haven't worked on it. There's no, like, prototype or proof of concept or anything like that. But it is something that I'm researching and trying to figure out how I could add new possible priority actions. So yeah, definitely not something that I want to say is possible, but it definitely something I'm looking into that may be. Well, Spike has a tendency to add things to the game after I add them, even after telling people that they're not possible for, months or years or whatever the case may be. So, we'll see. Maybe if I add them, they will. Yeah, Geese is another guy that I miss because he doesn't show up on the Discord. He just sticks to the boards, and I know he's not around much these days either. But um, he was always really cool, and I don't get to interact with him much because he's not on the Discord. Moneyman asks, has Spike ever stolen your code before? They can't really steal it because I've publicly offered it to them several times, and they've always been pretty good. But yes, they have stolen stuff. They have taken things that I've done before. The fix to when they fixed the countries in Fire Promoter, that was all my code. Carl, what do you do in real life, if you don't mind me asking? So I am in school to get a degree in secondary education right now. I have a degree in history and a associate's degree in secondary education. But in the state that I'm in, you can't teach without at least a BA in education and a license. So I am currently in the process of getting my BA in secondary education. And other than that, I am a stay-at-home dad. Lady Zilla has been wonderful and supportive, and I am lucky to have decent grandparents who really wanted to see me go back to school because I'm basically, they said that I'm way too smart to be doing the dirty punk rock thing that I was doing for a long time, and basically where it's like, fuck my future, I need to do this now, and so they were like, you know what, grow up and fucking do something with yourself. So they were like, if you do that, we'll help you and your wife out, and we'll help put you through school. So that's what I'm doing. So did anybody just see weirdness happen there with the that edit, or am I just seeing things? It looked like he just kind of teleported into the air and then back down to the ground. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so I was like, am I seeing shit or is something weird there? I don't know what the hell caused that. This guy has a lot of weird, he may have some moves that don't correspond to the correct moves anymore because I redid he has a lot of custom moves, and I redid a lot of my custom moves, so, yeah, so he might have some weird glitchy freak out moments. He was actually, I think, one of the edits that I use for testing custom moves. So he has a lot of them just in his default moveset, where a lot of us started putting them in the move list mod so that they don't contaminate like base save data. But he was one that I was using for testing, so he has a lot just in his regular moveset. Level's asking, how is school going? It's going, since I'm also like the stay-at-home parent for the kiddo, it's going slowly, and I don't think any of us are like super happy about it going slowly. It's just, that's the way it's going. Plus, my school it's a good school with a pretty good reputation. I'm going to the University of New Mexico for the BA, and it's got a pretty good reputation with the College of Education. Their College of Ed is actually pretty good, but their administration, not for the College of Ed, but just the general administration, and our governor and secretary of education here in the state are fucking retarded as shit. And so the requirements for graduation, I've been in the program for 2 years, and the requirements for graduation from the program have changed like 5 times in 2 years. So that's what I've been dealing with. So I've taken courses and paid for courses that I no longer need. I now need courses that I no longer thought I did. That sort of thing. So it's going. But I mean, I do well in school. I excel at academics. I know that some of you will tell me that modding I'm good at it, but I mean, really, I'm good at school. It's one of the few things in life that I'm actually good at. So it's going. It's just going slowly. Yeah, no, modding Fire Pro is pretty easy stuff. I mean, basically, once you understand the. I think the biggest thing is getting yourself familiar with the. I mean, you. The assembly C# file is like seven megabytes of code. So, yeah, I mean, you're getting yourself familiar with a fairly large code base, but once you're familiar with it, it's not very difficult to do. So, I mean, it's definitely easier for me to write mods than it is for me to write papers on interwar fascism in Europe, So, not that I don't enjoy writing papers about interwar fascism in Europe, because I do, but yeah, it's just one of those things. So yeah, UNM doesn't seem to give much of a shit about like I'm mostly in upper class courses now. The 400 and 500 level classes. They do a lot of them where it's like 400, and then they have the kids looking for a master's in there as well, and so it's like a 400/500 level course, and there are kids in there who are first year college students, so they don't seem to give much of a shit about that as far as like the year. They just they keep changing the requirements to graduate, and that's a giant pain in the ass. Yeah, that's always what I tell people. Level was talking about how he works on computers as for a living, so he doesn't like to see them when he's not working. That's one of the biggest reasons that I'm not interested in going into computers or IT or anything like that. I like computers, but I don't want to turn it into a living, because then I won't like computers anymore. That's also why I don't take money for the mod suite except for once a year. It's one of those situations where getting paid for something kind of creates responsibility, and it creates an obligation, and responsibility and obligation are the things that suck the fun out of things. So if I had an obligation to you guys or a responsibility to you guys to deliver certain things because I was taking money for this or something like that, then it just would stop being fun to me anymore. So, I do the donations once a year around Christmas time. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, I think it is generally for the last 2 years. And I use that money to buy presents for my family since, like I said, I'm a college student, so, money is tight. And that's worked out pretty well, because I've found that most of you guys are happy to give a little bit, if I'm working on this thing all year. And there's been lots of new features added and that sort of thing, and nobody's obligated to. I'm not obligated to do anything extra for that money, because everybody understands it's a once a year sort of donation drive thing, and that works out really well. But yeah, if I had to do this for a living, if I did this for a living and then came home, and I wouldn't want to mod Fire Pro. So. I just kind of like to keep that stuff separately. And it's like, I love history too, and I could talk about history all fucking day. But when I start teaching history, I doubt that I'm going to come home and want to wax poetic about the Industrial Revolution to my wife, who doesn't actually give a shit about their Industrial Revolution to begin with. So, it'll work out a lot better than if I'm doing something that I enjoy, but then I also enjoy doing outside of work too. So Sunny615. I mean, so here's my thing with that stuff. Like, if you the Hitler edit, it's like, I'm not offended that it's a Hitler edit. You know, if you want to make a Hitler edit, make a Hitler edit, whatever. You know, like, my issue is when you present it like you're some fucking savant for being, or some comedic genius for just being an edgy douchebag. You know, it's like, you're not the first asshole to make a Hitler edit. You won't be the last asshole to make a Hitler edit. What makes your Hitler edit so special that it needs to remain on the fucking workshop, even though it violates, you know, the code of conduct or whatever? You know, it's like, look, you made a mistake. You uploaded an edit that you shouldn't have. Fucking own it and move on. You know, just be an adult about it. You know, it's like, yeah, that was a bad choice. I'm gonna move on now. You know, I mean, fuck. It's not offensive because of what it is to me. You know, it's just stupid because it doesn't. Why? You know, and I guess that's my biggest thing with it. Amsterdam asks, is it just me, or does your standard fight graphic linger on screen longer than a normal one, like a title? Yeah, it does. Anytime there's a custom image on the fight, it halves the speed at which it disappears, because that fight graphic disappears so quickly that, like for title belts and things, you wouldn't even be able to tell what was going on there. It would just look like a jumble of stuff. So I slowed it down a little bit so that you could read and see kind of what was going on. There's no point in doing an image if, like, it's on screen for, like, you know, 3/4 of a second, so... The last asshole is a good gimmick. Yeah, I mean, it would make a good modern... I mean, I guess if you're into indie trash, that's like the perfect indie trash edit. The last asshole, some name, you know, I don't know. I'm still waiting for View to release his fucking, the no-cell mod, the one that they get up automatically, so that I can reprogram that in my own liking and use it for my personal stuff, because it's a really cool concept, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to write it from scratch, so I'm waiting on that. And I know Dakota's made some really cool, like, from the ground get-up taunts for it, so... Yeah, I remember you posting about it. It's something to do with the priority order, like the layering order on the form renderer or whatever. Yeah, like I said, I hate fucking with the form renderer. It's a giant pain in the ass. So, I feel you. There is suicide damage for whiff dives, isn't there? I'm almost positive there is. Talk to View about that as far as instant critical for outside whiffs. He did a mod for that, where you could critical yourself on a dive. The edit will stay down anytime that there is downtime on them. So even if they don't take damage, if they have down, like if you punch and edit and punch and edit and punch and edit, and then have them die from the top rope, even if it didn't do damage, they would stay down. So it just depends on the downtime. It's not about like whether it does damage or not. Sunny615. Sunny posts. He does some. He posts some in the on the Discord occasionally, but he's not a regular poster there. And I think he mostly does Twitter. I actually didn't know that because he'll post occasionally in the Waka Maze questions section on my Discord with some really cool like new moves and stuff. But I didn't know he only posts like half of what he has posted on his Twitter. So if you like what Sunit is doing, you can definitely follow his Twitter instead. That's the best way to keep up with it. And I just got a bug report from somebody on the Discord that should solve, because people have been having trouble with the new entrance mod since I added the wait times and all of that stuff. Well, somebody finally posted a log, so I can fix that when I get done with this. So it's a really easy fix. So expect a new test version when I finish this up pretty shortly afterwards, because it's like one line of code. So. But yeah, so I just thought I'd let you know. I don't think you'd have to change a whole lot for that injury mod view. It should be pretty basic. For as far as the upgrade. Yeah, the MOTW has a version, but it's specific to MOTW, so. Yeah, I have him. I have him on my Twitter too. Geese, that is, speaking to Dakota. But I don't really use Twitter ever. It's just not. I don't know. I don't like Twitter. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of wordy. So I don't know whether they still have it, but what was it, like 120 characters? It's like, if I'm going to talk to somebody, there's a good chance that what I have to say requires more than 120 characters. So Twitter can just fuck off. It's useless. And if they've changed that now, I don't know. But they basically ruined themselves in my eyes when, they were still enforcing that. So, yeah. Twitter's just not my thing. I like Facebook, but I don't belong to any of the Facebook groups for Fire Pro. I also don't generally direct message people because, I don't know, I feel like I'm annoying them if I'm just speaking directly to them. 240 characters now? Yeah, that's just, I don't know, like I said, I'm a wordy dude. I don't like to have to fit my shit into 240 characters. I don't know. Yeah, 240 sounds about right. I think it used to be 120 and then they doubled it or something. But yeah, whatever. I mean, fucking... just not my... Not conducive to me wanting to be on there very much. There's a tip for everybody. Always prio that super kick. I fucking hate it when people don't prio their super kicks. Drives me nuts. There should be pinning. Sex McDuff, I mean, he's a fan favorite, but his matches have not been graded spectacularly. We'll go with some ladies for now. There we go. I think you're a year younger than I am, actually, Sonny. If I remember right. Yeah, we're the same age. I turned 37 in a couple of months, so. And I know that there are some. I mean, Tim is like in his 50s, I think. Timberwolf, I think he's 52 or 51. So I know there are some older people, but yeah, we're getting up there. As far as Fire Pro fandom is concerned. So, all right, I need more Arnold Palmer now. So, is there, to sort of close this out, since my voice is starting to give out a little bit, is there anything that you all would like to see happen mod-wise? Like, what are the things that I should be focusing on? And prolapsed anus pictures to the first person that talks about fucking ladder matches or elimination chambers or whatever. The UI mod. Maybe I'll make a little screen for, I could make a little form for it. It really isn't very difficult. It's just, like I said, I was trying to, I get a lot of complaints about the amount of forms that load currently. So it's just one more form that loads, and but it wouldn't be hard for me to make it more modular, Will. That's definitely something that could be done. A rectal prolapse deathmatch? I don't even want to think about how that would work. So there is actually, to Sunny, there is actually a save game selector that has save game management. It will load up, it will allow you to load different saves. It will keep backups of those different saves. It will allow you to load different fire promoter games, the whole 9 yards. The only thing it does not do is that all of the mod specific stuff is universal. So if you've got like 4 saves, then it will have, like, and you go into, let's say, the throwout list, it will have edits from all 4 of your saves in that list. It's easier for me to maintain that way. Other than that, there's no specific reason for it. So, but it does have save management already. So. Yes, you need to have a... Well, no. So you don't need to have an entrance attire set, but you need to dump a file if you want to use the custom themes and wait time. So, like, you can just say... if you set the entrance attire to 0, it will just say none. Or it'll null it, so it won't write any of that information to the file, but you still need to have that file to use the wait times and stuff because that's what it's reading from. So, so you still have to set it up for each edit. Yes. So it seems like the questions have kind of petered out here. So I think that after this match, I am going to call it a day. We've been doing this for a little over like 2.5 hours, so I don't want to do another. I think we did a 4.5 hour one the last time, so I'm glad it didn't go that long, but yeah, it seems like we're kind of running to the end of it, so I'm surprised I didn't get more Fire Promoter questions, but I guess Fire Promoter was pretty disappointing for most people, so. I like Fire Promoter, to be honest. If I had to like put the DLCs in like order from which one I think is the best to worst, the Fire Promoter would be on top at this point. I don't enjoy the. I mean, the other ones have parts and moves, but whatever. I mean, I've had custom parts and custom moves in the game for forever and a day, so really, moves and things they're just not that impressive to me anymore. You want to know what Tiger Stripe Pro asked, what is something you would like to see from Fire Promoter in the future? Oh shit, I don't even know. Honestly, I would like to see them improve the AI. The way that they're handling AI now is, I mean, I know it literally is straight out of a fucking GBA game and all that, but it's straight out of a fucking GBA game. And there's no reason for that in 2019. You know, using it as a framework is one thing. You know, not making any attempt to make it more modern is another, and it's just not. I don't think that's acceptable, really. And while I still think that it's my favorite of the DLCs, it isn't without its problems. So, well, that was a much better match than most of the Sex McDuff matches combined, apparently, according to the guy who does the match evaluations in Fire Pro. It wasn't quite a straight port, but yeah, it wasn't anything impressive. They basically took the Game Boy game mode, updated it so that it worked in Unity. They added a couple of bells and whistles that maybe the Game Boy game mode didn't have, and that was that, you know. It really wasn't I mean, it certainly wasn't improved enough that I felt like it needed to be delayed at all. I mean, there was no reason for that. They should have just, I mean, Jesus, there's just no reason at all. Yeah, apparently he's not a big Sex McDuff fan, the guy who ranks the matches, so what can you do? Alright, guys, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, and I've got to go take care of some stuff outside of the computer, and I will probably be around off and on the Discord. You can join the Discord by going to a link. I have to generate the invite users link. Let's see if I can do that real quick and post it up there. Create instant invite. Edit invite link. I think most of you guys are on the Discord, but just in case you're not, let's... Here we go. If you're not on the Discord, that will get you on the Discord. I'm usually around on there pretty much intermittently throughout the day. So, if you have questions or need help with things, that's the place to ask. I try to avoid tech support on Steam because, it's a cluster. But, all right. Well, thank you guys, and I will catch y'all later.